Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode 15, I believe, of Formcast. Happy to have you guys listening and watching if you're on YouTube right now. Excuse my nasally, prepubescent sounding voice. I have recently conjured a cold, and it doesn't want to go away. Feeling much better today, though, thankfully, because it's recording day. So when you listen to this, it'll be the next week. So hopefully I feel much better. Today, I quickly want to talk about, in the streaming world, content creation world, the building of your community world, which just means pretty much people that enjoy your content that decide to join your regular streams, your Discord, consume your content on other socials on a regular basis. I feel are part of your, and I'm using quotation marks here, community. One thing about people who join your community, and this is something that 2.5 years in, I'm still learning to do, is don't necessarily get too attached to every single person that comes through. Why do I say this? It sounds mean, rude, condescending. I don't know if that's the word. It sounds selfish to be like, don't care about your members. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't care about the people that come and support you in any way. You got to care about everybody. But the fact of the specific point of getting attached to certain community members, such as I really made a good friend out of this person, because when they decide to leave your community and no longer consume your content, which means no longer engaging in comments, likes on socials, not coming to your streams anymore for whatever reason, and this doesn't necessarily mean because they hate you anymore, or they hate you now. It means that maybe they don't use Twitch because of a job relocation and life is just crazy and they just don't have the time. Maybe their work schedule changed. Maybe they just were a streamer. They were a streamer, and I've talked about this in podcasts previously, but maybe they were a streamer and they just couldn't do it anymore. So because they don't stream anymore, they don't watch Twitch anymore, so they don't consume your content, and your friendship becomes, it just dissolves. And this has happened to me so many times where you get really close to someone and all of a sudden you just never hear from them anymore. And it's normal, I think, because when you look at it in the real world, you could get really close to someone at work, for example, and then you switch jobs, and because they were more of a work friend, you talked every day, you really connected with them on a every single day basis. But then you get a new job, you move away, for example, or just a new job in the same city, and you never see each other again. That relationship, if it wasn't necessarily meant to be, will not be anymore. And it's the same thing with streaming and content creation and people joining your Discords and all that kind of stuff. When you get too attached to somebody, I think when they do decide to leave, or something changes on your end where that friendship cannot be continued, you really take it to heart if you're really connected. And I kind of treat it as a friendship where one friend was more into it than the other, for example. And I think everybody can kind of relate to this at some point in their life where you had a friend where you were the one kind of always initiating things and the one really into the friendship, and then buddy just or budette just kind of went on their own ways, their different path, and you kind of separated and grew distant, and then the friendship no longer exists anymore. And I think that's normal. I think it's healthy because you don't necessarily want to put pressure, and you don't want to necessarily force a friendship to continue if one of two parties doesn't want it, or if it's just not really something that's meant to be in your life. Now, I bring this up because as a streamer, you really rely on people consuming your content, and you really rely on making connections with your viewers and your I guess, using quotation marks again, your fans, right? I've recently kind of come to the conclusion that you can get close to some people, but as long as it feels natural and normal to do so. I have made some really good friends that I still talk to, and I met nearly on day one. And now this is going into I'm starting my third year as of this June, will be 3 years as a streamer. And I knew no one that I know now before I started streaming. So it'll be 3 years. And I do still talk to some of those people almost on a regular basis, on a daily basis, I should say, that I met a long time ago. However, there are some people that I met that I grew really, really, really close to, that, we had some really great conversations, great connection. I've even met in person and all that kind of stuff that eventually just dwindled to nothing. And I think a lot of that has to do with people's own choices of going certain directions in life, certain directions in content creation, certain directions in I don't want to be part of a group anymore, so I'm gonna go find. I found another group that is more me, more comfortable for me to be part of on a more regular basis. So I don't really have time to invest in that friendship. So whatever the reasons are, people will go their own ways and disappear. And I've recently seen a lot of tweets about people like, really upset that people left their Discord, or really upset that like some of the longtime community members that they had are no longer there. And whether they know the reason or not, I have no clue, but they just seem really upset about it. And you really have to, and I've mentioned this before, and I talk about it very often, like while I'm on stream or when I'm talking to people in my mentorship program, is that streaming is a revolving door. And that doesn't necessarily mean that streamers will come in and out, but literally friendships and the connections you make with people and your viewers, especially in the small streamer communities, that it's a revolving door like crazy. Like people will come in, they'll be your best friend, and then like 3 weeks later, they'll just be like, I found a new group to hang out with. And they want to spend more time over there, so they spend less time with you, and then eventually just you grow apart. Now, as a streamer and as a community leader, I do reach out a lot to people, and I'm checking in on people just because I really care about the people that spend their time with me. I care about them, so I make sure to reach out, check in. A lot of these people have shared personal stories of employment things, family things, relationship things, medical health things, and you do grow a bit closer that way. However, it's just a fair warning that anybody in anything could just literally disappear, and you could have put tons of energy and hours of your life into this friendship where all of a sudden it's just gone. So what happens is you feel upset, you question why, you is it your fault? And this is something that in the streaming world can affect your outlook on the rest of your community or your stream or your content or the path you've chosen or the decisions you've made that might have pushed people away and all these things. But when you think about it IRL, if this happens, you do get upset and you're frustrated and you're questioning, why is someone leaving? Why are they no longer my friend? Why do they not care anymore? And you get all these negative thoughts in your head and emotions that go along with it. So it's really important that I suggest, if a friendship develops, just like in real life, you meet someone at a bar, you meet someone at the gym or whatever it is, in the grocery aisle, when you meet someone and the friendship develops, just make sure that it's something that is meant to be for you in your life. And if you're putting 100% energy into that friendship, make sure it's reciprocated. Not always the case, right? And it's perfectly, like, on the flip side, you have to realize that it's perfectly okay for people to no longer be friends. It's perfectly okay for the community member that watched your stream for 6 months to no longer be in your stream anymore. You can't necessarily, you don't own anybody, obviously, but you can't hold on to their friendship, and you can't hold on to that support, and you can't hold on to their time at all, because they make the decision to give it to you, and they also make the decision to take it away by simply just living their own life. It's a complicated thing because in the streaming world, a lot of your friendships are based off of with other streamers, and I do think that like jealousy, envy, play a huge factor. Like if you become more successful than your friend that is also a streamer, they might, and I've like heard stories, like people have come to me with these stories. I don't know if it's ever happened to me. Like if someone leaves my Discord, I don't even know who leaves. I don't track it, but, or if someone unfollows me, like it is what it is. But when you've made connections with people on a little bit of a more personal level, you do notice if they are no longer around. So you can either reach out or you just say it is what it is. And oftentimes I say it is what it is. I don't really care to invest the energy to be like, why did you leave? Why did you, like, they've already made that decision clearly, right? They don't need to explain themselves. They don't need to explain their emotions, their thoughts, their feelings, or their decision-making process to you. But that's where you have to be okay with the fact that people will leave, and you just got to be okay with it. And it's perfectly okay for people to do that. So if you're not okay with it and you seem to sit there and stew over like, why, then you're just going to, like, you're just never going to progress in any friendships. You're just going to be so worried that people are going to leave on you. And I think a lot of that happens IRL, right? So yeah, I mean, there's a whack load of decisions that people will make that will lead them down certain paths. But like I was saying, if someone is a fellow streamer and you're better than them or whatever like that, they might get envious. They might want to distance themselves because they always compare themselves to you. I've in the past 100% unfollowed people that I always compared myself to because it's just not healthy, right? Comparison is the thief of joy. Make sure you listen to that podcast because it's a big one. It's like another reason for someone to leave a community completely, right? Oh, I don't like what they're doing, and excuse me, they've changed, and there's so many people that told me that after I hit Twitch Partner, I changed. But I think that comes with the territory of succeeding and other people not necessarily succeeding either. I think there's always going to be a little bit of envy at whatever level you're at, right? I could be envious of someone that is a higher level of success than I am, but maybe I think, it's not the best content or something like that. Regardless, point is, invest in the friendships where you see fit, but don't be surprised if people just completely ghost you. The small streamer community is 100% like a giant high school. And if you get involved too much, you will be treated like you are in high school. There's cliques, there's different people making weird ass decisions, and you're just sitting there like, what is going on? What is going on? And I'm 33 years old. I'm too old for that stuff. But at the end of the day, some people will act that way. So you got to be ready for the people to drop you out of nowhere. But it's not always out of spite or envy or jealousy or hate. Sometimes it's because they just don't have the time. And sometimes it's because life changed. They got married. They had a kid. They had 3 kids. I don't know, 5 kids. There's TV shows about it. 8 kids. I don't know. But life things happen, and that means that sometimes community members will leave. But that's why it's important to not invest too much into the connections to your community members on a personal level. As a community leader, 100%. Spend as much time as you want with your community members. Give back as much as you want. Love them as much as you can. However, emotionally and personally, just be careful on where you invest your energy, because when that disappears, if it disappears ever for someone in your friendship circle, you can really be affected negatively. And sometimes these are people that you've never met. And yes, you can meet some amazing people online and you can become really good friends without ever meeting. But sometimes that also means you don't really know somebody either. So take it into consideration. Maybe this hit a sore spot for some people because everyone wants to be friends with everybody. But at the end of the day, you got to watch out for yourself. You got to watch out for your own emotions. And if you really make some really good friends and they want to stick around because they're really good friends, they won't just leave. They'll discuss things with you. They'll talk to you. They'll ask questions. They'll show concern. And after all that, after all the conversations you've had about everything, if they still leave, so be it. If they never ask anything and they leave, so be it. So hopefully this helps in terms of the more personal side of connecting with people via streams, content creation world. But you could also maybe apply this to the real life situations that you might be in with certain friends at this very moment. We'll see you next time. Cheers.